was in my vehicle.
Oh, no.
Yeah. I almost had the semi crash. The shoulder, he signaled left and pulled left.
Oh my
I
God.
was holding that shoulder and hit.
Keep thinking about bringing the county clerk convention here, but I mean, we got enough room.
I don't think they do. For some reason, I want to say,
I've been in my truck. It's been a little.
That's it.
I want to say we only have like 200.
I don't mind the motorcycles merging. I can tell.
yeah,
It's a big deal.
because the other one has,
Maybe we can get another one.
there you go, yeah. Yeah.
They
I
don't
don't-
benefit us.
I think so. I know the Holiday Inn is usually pretty booked and all the Airbnbs are booked and.
Thing though, Jennifer, I don't think that they would have also big enough breakout spaces and stuff. Yeah, you know, because you've got that one
Yeah.
Do they
smaller,
have any conference rooms up there at the motel?
they
They
do.
do, but it's not.
It's not very
It's
big.
not gonna
It's
be-
just one.
How many are in the clerk's?
I want to say it's.
Huh?
How many are in the?
Yeah.
clerk's?
I hope so.
Talk
It's a little narrow.
All of them was in the middle of the new one right there.
There's some overflow.
Yeah.
Junction City is.
Huge.
Yeah.
I hope they don't have any.
We got plenty of room down there in beds. We
Yeah.
got big conference rooms.
All right, y'all. Let's get to business. Let's come on up, Chancey. 9:30. Try to cut it off. We were having good talks today.
James Smith, I'm the Emergency Management Director. Been pretty busy this last couple of weeks. I went and presented at the appraiser conference on courthouse security, active shooter, that type of thing. It was really informative for a lot of them. I got really good comments from people on it. I got a request for a bunch of our exercises that we actually did in the courthouse. A lot of people train in that, but when they train in it, they train law enforcement response. And all our training is that initial 5 minutes before law enforcement gets there, which is the most important for the people to be able to take care of themselves, not worry about the police. But that was one of the big things I did this week.
Advanced weather storm.
Oh, we did an advanced weather spotter class too this week. Ed Aldrin from Nemaha County came down. It takes me just a minute, I'll get it. From Nemaha County came down. Eddie's a great guy. Eddie used to be a storm chaser for WIBW and a KCK TV station. He'd actually get on and give them updates on weather. Very, very knowledgeable in weather. He was a Cass County, Missouri deputy, and now he's the emergency management director up in Nemaha County. So he's left the dark side and now works for the good guys. He's not a storm chaser anymore. And we kind of battled when he was a storm chaser about what good do they do, and he really thought they did good until he was emergency manager and sees all these people out cheering for tornadoes and damage and that kind of stuff. And he has a personal connection with it now that I know people that live here that are being damaged, and why are you here cheering about this? So anyway, it was good. It was a good class. We all learned radar, how to read radar, how to set it up, how to look at the stuff to see the severity of it, which is critical. Also, some certain features that they can turn on. I think it's going to drastically help our deputies avoid the hell core of storms and get out of the way, because it shows you exactly where the hell's at in the storm. So just a few things there to maybe kind of limit some of our liabilities on stuff, which I think is a great idea. Puts you in the safe place on the storm and protects property damage on our stuff. So that was an important class, and the sheriff did attend that to help get the guys set up with that.
Your budget.
Talk to us about your budget. I was just gonna say.
Thank you.
Okay. I did all those things. as well.
Thank you for the budget.
Wonderful.
On to the budget. One of the items that were on here, and I do appreciate you letting me come and talk about my budget, because I've worked here for 20 years and this is the first time that I've
Well, you're gonna be here.
even done this.
We've always looked at it, but
You've looked at it and you said, you ain't hurt anybody yet. Let's keep going. No, I do really appreciate it, but a few items on here, and I got with Marcus on it, and we changed around because I had equipment maintenance, vehicle maintenance, and all that. And it's kind of a misnomer because I use my vehicle maintenance. I a fairly nice vehicle and I have very minimal maintenance that I have to do on it, oil changes and that kind of stuff like everybody else. But we own a ton of generators, trailers, command stuff, light towers, message boards, radios in the command post with internet, with telephones, and all that requires maintenance. That's where 99% of this maintenance goes. It's not vehicle. So we're going to combine that into a maintenance one. So it doesn't say vehicle maintenance, because I don't want anybody to think that the vehicles cost this much money. It's maintenance on equipment. And also, one thing that I think we're going to be able to cut out of this is the fire training that's on here. And that was on,
Oh, I lost it. I gotta find it in the book. Where's that in the big book?
36.
36, okay, thank you.
Well, it's that, what,
Wow,
did you put away what
Which one your Lucas gave us?
I lost one.
Marcus just gave us that.
I know, I lost it. I can't find it. I mixed all the papers up.
2025, the fire safety training was at $3,000 and we requested $2,000 this year. And we found other resources to be able to take care of that we're not going to need that money. So I think we can do away with,
So that's what
It's 3,000 is what.
it is 3,000
That's
for
what
25, and then 26 was 2,000.
yeah, we reduced it to 0. At least that's on this sheet.
Marcus and I talked about that. I'm just saying that it was on there and we
Yeah.
cut that off.
I mixed it all up. I messed up, Chancey.
He cut the card.
I was afraid to hand them out until right at the beginning, but
I started reading it. I didn't know it.
here we go.
Okay.
It's actually just upside down.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Sorry.
I got on two-sided too, so trying to save that money on paper.
Yeah, I like that. Go ahead, Chancey, I apologize.
No, I was done. You missed it.
Done, that's it? Okay.
We heard the cut part that you're, so the fire training though, you say you're going to go ahead and,
that we're still going to continue. We're just going to do it locally and not have outsourced resources to come into the community and perform that for us. After that bad fatality wreck we had down on K4, our Harrington Rescue Squad and our Abilene Rescue Squad are now going to do, the vehicle was tough. It was a new vehicle. They've put titanium in some spots. They had really tough time cutting some of the pillars and stuff on it. So we requested from the tow company to get that vehicle back, and we're going to start doing our training together because we got to cut the same cars up. We'll all go in there, and if one person struggles with it, we know somebody else is going to struggle with it. So we're going to work together on getting that stuff taken care of.
So then it's gonna, you said there'll be, so it is the 2,000 that you're requesting on the fire training? Or you said you're?
Well, it was 3,000 this year and 2,000 next year, and it's unneeded. We don't.
Okay.
We're going to be able to take that.
so back on your, and congratulations on your leadership role with the state there as president. So, but you don't really have much on your budget. Do they give you a stipend or do they reimburse the county when you go?
They will either or.
So you don't have to pay, obviously you don't have to pay the registration fee or anything like that.
It's travel because I'm the president this year. So if after the conference we'll have in September, some people will win awards and the president comes to the commission of that emergency manager and presents some award in front of the commissioner. So it's just travel to another county to present some awards and stuff like that. It's going to be the only increase that it would have, but I can get reimbursed back from the association for that.
Okay.
It's just time.
But we have to budget for it to show that in and out.
Mhm. Sure.
We also helped Saline County, I think, a lot the other day. And I don't know if you've seen their log jam they have in their park.
Mhm.
It's 300 yards long by 100 yards wide, 30-foot logs just jamming their creek up.
Yeah.
And there are people out walking on it and stuff. Well, they didn't realize that was an accountable source on the disaster declaration to clear that out of there. That's going to cause major flooding. If we have another flood, it's not going to come by. It'll be a dam. So they got to haul it off. And Michelle's like, well, it won't meet our threshold. I'm like, we've cleaned out creeks after our tornado. We know how much it cost. You got $750,000 log jam there.
Yeah.
Oh, do you think it's that much? I said, I know it's that
Yeah.
much. So now they're going on the disaster declaration. They're going to start working on that. Cause I got an email from Michelle, from the city manager, asking, do you know any funding sources or resources? This is a disaster. That's it.
Yep, yeah.
Cause
But we
it
went
cost
through
us,
NRCS,
but we spent 1.2 million to clean out Little Creeks
right,
after that tornado went through in 16.
16. Yeah, yeah, but it was NRCS that we worked with, but we still had to declare a disaster.
But there's $700,000 houses around the park there, and it's all private property. It's going to be a mess to clean that out. They're going to really, really struggle to work on that to get it. It'll be an expensive endeavor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm glad that she reached out to you.
I said, it'll be cozy burger money. They didn't think that was funny.
So is it your fuel going up because you're driving a diesel now? You're driving a diesel, aren't you?
So I'll touch on fuel. So
I mean, it's like a lot. That's the only reason I'm.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's a little.
No, he has a reason.
we get a fuel report, and it's all the vehicles are listed on one, and basically I will go in and do a journal entry on that. On the admin report, it has each vehicle. Well, in the last couple of years, his was listed under admin. It wasn't separated out from the highway, so his
It's paying my
fuel.
gas bill.
So it looks like it's a lot more, but it was actually under the administrative fuel, which I will say there's some gray areas that we probably need to try to address on sometimes where you bill things, like even the fire and safety training. Technically, that probably could have gone under the admin training in a way, because it wasn't something that Chancey necessarily 100% said, hey, I'm going to do this in my budget. This was, and so, but since it was fire training and we have a line item for fire and safety training, it felt like that's still the most appropriate place to go, as opposed to training under administration, where I don't think people would understand.
Right,
what
it's
that was, or you
it's
just
still
wouldn't see
emergency
it.
management.
Yeah, so,
We moved from the left to the right. So
Correct.
yeah, so a lot of these expenses, although it shows, so after I just put that 2,000 cut in there, it puts that his budget would increase his operational budget by $1,200, which is about 10%. But in reality, you're looking at a shift of some of these funds that were budgeted or spent in the administrative line, just moving over to emergency management, which are both still under the general fund, just makes a little more sense and is a little easier for us to account for and for the public to see if we have it in those
It's
locations.
cleaner for my budget. It'll all be there.
that makes sense. Makes sense. That was really the only question I had, other than the special supplies, but I assume you just don't need to buy something this year. But I was wondering why you were lowering it. Do you not need supplies still, or?
Trying to save the county money. When I need stuff, it's usually not an optional thing. We have to find somewhere to get it.
It's kind of where
And I'll spend as least as I can. I always try to be the best.
you're comfortable with that cut then.
Because when I need it, I could come to you and go, hey, we got a problem.
Well, that's,
And I feel confident
prefer that, but
to take care of me.
I like it. Thank you.
Also working on the fair boards came up with a emergency operation plan for the fair this year, since we had to evacuate the grandstands last
That's a
year.
good idea.
Well, we had one, we just didn't follow it last year, so
We got
now
our-
we're coming up with one.
Glad our community isn't,
Mhm.
would have been a trample fest.
I'm 100% with you, but they created their flow chart of who's in charge, and
I said,
only the second tier, there's no one in charge yet, and I'm like, we gotta put someone in there.
I told that was kind of the issue last year.
There was nobody, they couldn't make a decision. You had 4 people who unilaterally made different decisions, and we need one person that can say, it's done, we're going home. Because I can do that by doing one thing, sending the ambulance home. Why would we put our paramedics out there in a lightning storm in a coliseum where they're gonna get struck? It's dangerous, go home. Now the rodeo is not happening because you have to have an ambulance out there. I don't want to do that. We need to make that
I
decision.
was gonna
What's
say, I don't think
smarter
that's our
for,
call, but
which is smarter for everything else, but
Right.
being safe,
Safe
you know,
is
we're
our-
not going to put our people's lives at risk because
Yeah.
someone wants to ride a cow in the mud.
And realistically too, we've all been through the
How do you feel
Kansas,
about that?
we've all been through the Kansas storms. And like today, we were supposed to have rain and something come through and it probably hit somewhere, but it didn't come through here very much. And
It's in Nebraska.
you just never know.
Well,
And that one came up quick.
in North Carolina, 22 people got struck by lightning yesterday. 18 of them went to the hospital, 12 of them were kids.
Wow.
Yeah.
So lightning does hit people. When someone was killed in Florida yesterday by lightning also. So it does happen, and it's not good.
Better safe than sorry.
But you're in aluminum bleachers, that's probably not the greatest place to be in a lightning storm.
And the highest point. Yeah, I was gonna say the highest point of the whole area.
Hold on an umbrella up top of it. Gonna get me.
It's kind
Umbrella and a beer.
Okay.
Anything else?
It's good to have a plan. Yeah.
No, you gotta have a plan, but you gotta follow it. It's there for a reason.
I'll just say, I think you showed this year a lot of value. So I think straw, feather in your hat, not that you need one, but you handled this emergency this
Well,
year.
let's not go too far.
Okay. Don't build them up too much.
I'm here for more than my good luck, Trey.
That's right, yes, yes.
Thank you, Chancey.
But Chancey, on the log jams, you need people with training and how to get rid of the log jams, just contact us down there. We'll take care of it.
Yeah, down in the south in the county, I told them just light them things on fire. They take care of themselves.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
If you look at your slab with the railing, right?
Yielding the podium to Marcus,
It's time to move on.
We found out those are very expensive. So
Yes.
yeah, we don't need any more of that.
But we are getting quotes about getting it removed, just FYI. So.
Thank you.
So we'll move right in to the next page I've got on underneath there is custodial, which with Chancey actually being over building maintenance, he actually oversees Seth, which is the custodian as well. But as he was heading out the door, I knew he could have talked on it, and I knew we were going to get a lot of stories about building maintenance. I thought, you know what, in a matter of time, I'll just go ahead and cover custodial real quick.
Yes.
There's not much on there.
Star by Marcus.
The custodial really is almost the entire budget is the contract services, which covers Cole Strong, carpet cleaning. They actually do our entire janitorial services for us. We currently have a contract which comes in about $85,000 with them. They come in every evening during the week and they clean all of our offices. They clean at the highway department and at the health and EMS as well. So that's really the big portion of the custodial budget. There wasn't much else on there, so I won't spend a ton of time unless you guys have any questions on that.
I do. The contract services have gone up quite a bit though.
Yes, it's a lot.
So that can actually also, this was another one that last year we actually were still billing that out of administration. It was coming out of building maintenance. So it's another item that I kind of just pulled out to separate. I just thought since it's custodial, let's have that custodial services actually in the custodial budget. So now that you're going to see where in 2024, once again, that was an administrative expense. And now starting in 25, we're seeing that being billed into the custodial line item. So it looks like a significant increase from 24 to 25, but in reality, it's just once again, separating that out, making it just a little more transparent, a little easier to find where those charges are coming from.
And that's the same contract amount that's been for the last couple of years that we had with them, so.
And before that, we had just gone out to bid.
I was just gonna ask that. It seems like
It was just
Really high.
about a year ago. And that's actually after, did we get 3 bids or only 2 bids?
I think we only had 2 because I think that's all it was.
I think it was.
But you got to remember, they're cleaning several.
Yeah. I was thinking about that too. I mean, we have several, but they're not near as, they're manufacturing buildings, so I don't think we're cleaning them the same way.
Yeah, yeah.
It's always the question on, whether you hire an employee or if you contract those services out. That's always been probably the big conversation. I think the county's done it both ways in the past.
Yes.
And so it's 50-50 on whether you're going to pay salary and benefits and all the equipment or if you're going to contract that out. So.
And they are required to go through background checks because of the access to the offices and things like that too. So, and I'll tell you, it has worked out much better having the contract than having an employee in the past. So.
Okay.
So after custodial, we can go ahead and roll into the administration department. Administration, although it sounds like administration, which is just this hallway here, it actually covers a lot. We're kind of feels like it's been the catch-all. It gets a lot of, there's some expenses throughout county government that they have to be billed somewhere. And so what we, like, for instance, we have legal and indigent defense, we have cremation, burial, unclaimed bodies, all of those things come out of the administration budget, but they have to come out somewhere. And, so those are things that we have to cover. The indigent defense we've seen a significant increase right now, and I don't think there's not much we can do on that. It's getting more and more challenging to find attorneys that are willing to provide those services. I think it's challenging work for them. It doesn't necessarily pay a lot for what their industry can do. And so it's in these rural areas, especially, we're finding more and more challenges to find appropriate attorneys to help with legal and indigent defense. So although we're budgeting for the increase that we've already seen in place, it's kind of a year-to-year thing. We're going to be looking at that because if they come back and request more, just kind of in a position to at least consider that, because there's not a lot of other options out there right now.
Those agreements will come to you, Doug, work on it at the end of the year, because it's a January to December contract.
Okay.
So that's one place you can see already a $60,000 increase at 27%. And right now it's not something we have a lot of control over on that side of it. The cremation, I'm not going to really touch on that too much. Building maintenance, you are starting to see that come down a little bit as we are moving funds like we've just kind of talked about. We have the jail. We're starting to identify the building maintenance for the jail in a separate fund just so we can really look at it a little closer. Same thing with the cleaning services. So that budget is starting to come down. So we were able to lower that down to $75,000, which was a 34% decrease. We still have the drug court is being billed out of the general fund. And right now we're estimating about $26,000 in legal fees to come out this year. And we put in at 30,000, just basing that there potentially could be a request for an increase, but we're just leaving that where it is for now. That's also another line that as we get into it, we can look at, because those could come out of the opioid funding if that were ever an option.
And we also had spoke to the ones that wanted to create that house that kept, he was involved with that, and Cindy Whittington, and there's another, but I don't know if that's off the table, but I mean that we had kind of indicated we would get back with them after budget or during the process here.
Yeah. And I just had a call yesterday. I know the police chief at the city, or interim police chief, Jason Wilkins, called me. He's helping out with that organization, with the Cedar House board, or not that, I guess this is the other organization, the Cedar House board. And I let him know that we're in that process, and we're hoping sometime in August, September to be able to come bring that back to the table with an application process and look at that a little closer. And he seemed like they were comfortable waiting on.
They did get some from the city, I believe.
That's what I was gonna say. Correct me if I'm wrong. I thought they got funded.
They got funding from the city. We tabled it
They
here.
didn't get all the money they needed. Okay.
No, because they were asking, I think initially they were looking at 40,000 is a number they were floating out there, but we wanted to see, one, what the opioid funding would be coming in at, and that really, we probably won't get good numbers until August.
Okay.
And then see what the indigent, or not, the defense attorney was going to be. So, and we know that's going to be about 30,000, and then any other costs for recovery court, because they also take out for their monitoring and other things that pertain to court. So we were estimating we're going to spend $45,000 roughly on that. So, yeah.
On that opioid funding though, and then under lawsuit now, that they filed bankruptcy?
There's a company that has filed bankruptcy. So, and we don't know what's going to end up there. But I do have another one that I'll turn over to Doug that signed a settlement agreement, but we'll have to go through the steps. it's not going to be right away that we'll get any funding of it. And I don't know how much that will be. So.
And I think last year, we actually received the funding that was around in August, which is part of the reason we wanted, if we could just hold off a little while, we could see what that amount's going to be, make sure that we're going to have an appropriate balance moving forward. Because if that, I know we're expecting that to stay consistent, but if we did just receive a large lump sum up front, and in the next few years you only receive, say, 5 or 10,000, it just changes the whole course of what we're going to look at that fund for. There's also no rush, like the funds aren't going to expire anytime soon. This is a ongoing process for years to come. So there was some concern that if we didn't spend it right now, it was going to be gone. I think that would be okay. Still want to get it into the hands of people who can use it, but I just think giving it the proper time, which in this case, just we're getting close. We're almost to July now. So we'd be about 2 months from seeing that next distribution.
Just gonna throw this out there. Shouldn't we be more concerned with paying for what we're already doing rather than immediately trying to give it all away? And my point there is, should we consider applying that fund to this line item? Like right now, like for this budgetary season or year?
We certainly can.
And
Just
if-
do
How
that.
you guys feel about that? But I mean, I don't know.
I think the whole purpose was so we didn't have where it's like, okay, this has been allocated and then this is what's left over. So to try to have it methodical, but at some point we need to, I think that's an area that is needed in the county. And so when we start talking about the needs in that particular area, I don't think we can just brush that aside. So, so to a certain point, I think we do need to have some of these funds applied to where we're using them in recovery court, but I just don't want them left out on that because I think they're kind of on the threshold, but also depending on some of the funding that we would have from opioid, that's some of the purposes of it, as well as drug recovery court. I mean, that fits into the parameters.
I guess where I'm at is the drug recovery court, from how I'm taking it, is sort of fueling who's going to be in these homes. Correct me if I'm wrong. I know there's other individuals who probably aren't a part of drug court in them. So my thought was to facilitate that system. After talking with the sheriff and many people in this building, everyone's on board with this program. So I guess what I'm saying is I feel like the community is seeing the value of the program. So we know that's working. We know for sure it's working. So why wouldn't, I think we ought to consider using our funds to pay for it, is where I'm going.
And
I think there should be enough to go around though. And the other thing, if that happens, where all of a sudden the money we get is disrupted a year from now or 2 years or 3 years from now, then you just go to the public and say, here's what we used to get, this is what we get now. So now we've got to deal with that. So I would be surprised, although I don't know, obviously, I'd be surprised if it would change drastically next year and the year after. But there will be a point that there's only so much going to
We
come.
do have a pharmacist here. He might know a little bit more about this, but
Opioid funding.
I was told it's 15-year settlements.
It was 18 years
18 years.
and it started in 2019, I believe. No, we didn't get our first money till, hang on. I'd have to look for sure.
It's going to be at least for more than a decade. And at some point,
22 was our
whether
first
it's
year that we got.
12, 15, 18 years, it's going to stop.
Right. Yeah.
Really, what I'm trying to propose is we should fund the drug court before we consider giving that money out.
And that was kind of the discussion before earlier this year. And then maybe a one-time fee or one-time allocation to the housing project is what the discussion, my recollection of the discussion was.
So what is the amount in there?
I'm going to say 88,000.
I'll say 85.
I think, I can pull it up. I've got it right there, but
I might have.
So anyway, that's kind of in the ballpark. Yeah, we don't need no specific.
and
But there'd be enough to
I think the hope,
cover the funding here. That's not going to deplete it. So then, once we find out in August, we'll have
Then we can
more
find it.
information.
And my thought then, that tells us how much we can give out, so long as we can fund it again.
Right.
I think that to me would be a responsible way of looking at it is if we can wait with that 1 year, we'll see what the revenue that is actually dropped in for or what we receive from the opioid funding. And then if you know you're going to get $40,000 and you have $30,000 in expenses, then you have 10 that you can potentially grant out to those organizations. And we could send out that application and let them do that then at that point. And hopefully it'll be more than that. So it'd be nice to see that so that we could potentially operate almost 1 year behind, but that way we know exactly what funding is left over to move forward into the upcoming year.
If you guys remember, the original thought was, excuse me, appointing a committee to oversee this. So in my mind, that gives the community their word and their voice to be heard by us. And so I don't know, I feel like that's a really good way to run it and keep everyone somewhat happy.
I think we're on the same track.
Yeah,
I mean, August.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
we're getting pretty close. So August will be here before I know it. So, I'll go ahead and touch on a couple more here. We're rolling into 10 o'clock.
Yeah,
I've got
Deb's not online. No, there she is. I see her. So, okay.
And we just have a screensaver or something on here.
Right. And I'll move it over so you can see who's online.
Okay.
We thought maybe you didn't need to look at yourselves anymore.
Well, I was trying to see who was listening,
Yeah, it's up there now. You should be able to see it.
So
Do you
that's-
want me to go ahead and jump
It's just
to our next
who's in it.
presenter? So that do you want me to just have the presenters come in next? We still have quite a few.
No, we need to get.
Just go ahead and continue this. Okay,
Sorry.
so
Sorry, Deb.
we'll get to them as soon as we can here. But so the animal control, you can see there was an increase there. We did have a change last year where the sheriff's department actually is putting a little bit more of that animal control into the administrative budget. It's not significant, talking about $1,000 there. The general auditing, we were able to lower that because we're not anticipating a single audit needed in 2026. So that 17.5 based on our contract should be what the number is basically for our audit. Go too far into postage, that's pretty common. That's pretty well to be expected. The tort liability, that's an area that I thought we were able to cut. It is something that potentially, if a claim were to come up, we have to, legally, we have to cover it. But in this case, we haven't seen it in the past. We've always budgeted for tort liability. We have, as far back as I looked, we have not had a claim come in. So I think it's, in my opinion, okay to, we'll just budget that if the day comes out of the reserve. Possibly we'll just talk to you guys about that as it comes.
Okay.
The 8th district fees dropped down slightly. Fuel and oil, you can see lowered by about $2,000, which is roughly what the emergency management. That's kind of where that shifted over. Then I just went ahead and flipped to the next page, onto page 4. This is where you're going to see that miscellaneous contractual. So in the past, historically, this is where the general fund reserve balance had been budgeted. Just feel like that could be more transparent if it's under a line that actually says basically cash reserve. So we're moving that out, and that will be now on its own separate line item, which will be considered cash reserve. So you'll see exactly what we're going to be budgeting there. I did leave $100,000 in the miscellaneous contractual. That's kind of the place where, as new requests come in front of the commission, that potentially it may come out of that item, but we may look at equipment reserve. It just really depends on what the request will be. So that could be $100,000 that if we don't like that in miscellaneous contractual, usually remove that as well. It's just a place that historically the commission had used really for items that were requested throughout the year.
Items that weren't budgeted that came up unexpectedly that we needed to take care of, things like that.
I'm backtracking a little bit. I like your idea in step 3 of miscellaneous expense.
Yes.
I like that idea. I'd like to see exactly, it'd be a little more clear once.
Yeah. That sounds good.
Just because of the amount you're.
Right. Oh, yeah, I did slip fast out there too.
You had the note there.
Yeah, I got the note.
I see the note. I'm like, why don't you, let's keep going.
Yep, sounds good.
Okay.
And you can see the small office and computer equipment. We did replace a couple of computers just in this last year, so we're not anticipating that large of an expense coming up in the next few years. So I think that small office and computer should be fine at the 5,000.
Okay.
Now we're into the advertising. We went ahead and cut that down.
Did you just put that in other people's budget? Is that how we did that?
Yeah, well, really,
It's a different line item.
yeah, this is a different line item. It just, I think some of these they've been utilized differently in the past. And I
Right.
think as we shift through and the budget kind of changes, that's where I'm trying to just identify this a little bit. But so advertising shows, at one point, there was a couple of community events going on that the county was paying for. We haven't had those in the last couple of years. So we decided we don't really need the advertising for those. And it wasn't necessarily just advertising, it was actually some funding for some of those festivals that were held in the area. You kind of get into a touchy place as the county, because if those festivals are taking place inside of the city limits, on which one, so then are you going to contribute to every festival throughout in every single city, or is that going to be a city responsibility?
And for a while, we had the community foundation kind of handle that for us. We just gave them the funds and then they had a grant application process and handled it, but it hasn't happened for a couple of years. So.
And the incentive program here, where it's listed as incentive program, that's where it started with DKDC. We now have a separate line for DKDC. So even that 133, that's an automatic payment that comes through the treasurer's department. So I'm just going to do a journal entry to move that 133 over to the DKDC line. And so that will actually be zero for the incentive programs. We're not planning to utilize that line item for the 26 budget. Going down to insurance, it's another one of those that insurance just continues to increase. We just received a note that to expect 15% increase on insurance, which fortunately that was exactly the number we had already budgeted, just in anticipation of what was going to happen. And so we're going to have to move that to the $350,000 for insurance. The Rural Opportunity Zone, as you heard, that's kind of, that program is somewhat going away, so we don't have anything budgeted for that. And then at the end, you'll see the inmate medical costs. That's another item that it just made more sense for that to come out of the jail. And it had been in administration at the time. And the very final line item is courthouse security. We have not actually discussed anything with courthouse security contracts yet, but you can see we're just putting in roughly additional $10,000 in that line in the chance that it comes up that they request an increase moving forward. So
if any equipment on that needs to be replaced or updated, is there
equipment
on security as you walk through, or cameras on the?
We could take that out of equipment reserve if need be, if we have to replace the scanner or the handheld scanners or anything.
And that's something that, would likely be an equipment reserve purchase. And that's a good point, though. I don't think I have that included on the capital plan. It's not something that I had necessarily considered. So I should go and find a
year from now, but maybe.
replacement cost on one of those and try to find an annual or an average lifespan, because I'm not real familiar with metal detectors and things of that nature. So I need to probably look into that a little closer.
And I've had questions about this from the public. So just to clarify, we are required to have security courthouse. Is that
So the courts are requiring us, but we went ahead and did the entire building when we decided, and we did that before we even the renovation.
but the courts have to have security.
The courts are requiring security, yes.
So we settled that by having them at the door itself.
Right.
And
But
compared
really,
to other areas, we weren't among the first to do that. I mean, we were quite a ways behind some of the others, but.
Yeah, I noticed it's a line item.
But I think it's handled in a customer friendly way as much as we can, and works well.
These last couple I can touch on really quick. There's a handful, honestly, they're pretty small. They only have a couple of lines. So the coroner and autopsy, that's another service that the county does provide. So we do have a county coroner that is called out, and we have a contract with the coroner. What we also find is we put our autopsies under that line as well. As you can see, we currently have spent about $25,000. That's going to increase here shortly. We just received an invoice, unfortunately, for autopsy, the tragic accident south of the county. And so when those types of things happen and they require an autopsy, that one alone could be close to about $19,000, I believe. So we budget appropriately at $75,000 to cover for the coroner costs, but then also the autopsies that come out of that as well. You can see that there's some personnel and employee benefits included also with that coroner contract. So that's the main thing that's under the coroner and autopsy. The Department of Aging, they pretty well talked to us last week. That was the North Central Area Agency on Aging. We talked about how we're looking at paying for those administrative costs, and we actually pay the senior centers directly for those meals. So that's where that funding comes from. We pay pretty well all the senior centers in the entire county.
The 4 sites that cook.
For the 4 sites that cook. The county counselor went ahead and put that budget on here as well. That one is pretty much just salaries and benefits. You can see that we were able to lower that just based on what the actuals were going to be for the county council costs, which came to about $71,600. Budget, this is another one that I'd say is kind of that gray area of some of the costs can come out of admin, some of them don't, because this is actually just pretty well my budget, but I don't really have a lot of expenses in my personal department, but I do have $2,500 in there for training. I don't specifically have any large trainings planned for 2026. So if we needed to remove some funding there, I'd be okay with that. Most of the trainings I can still travel to are in state. I can take a county vehicle if I need to, and we can handle that. So as long as I don't go to a national conference or something of that nature, I think that could potentially be considered to be lowered as well.
Since it's yours, I'd look at you. If you want to, you can. You can always, if you need to next year. That was what I've been telling everybody. If you need to go next year, then let's add it back.
Honestly, yeah, I think that would be acceptable. So we could I think we could go ahead and remove that this year for 2026. I know if something were to come up, we can still look at the administration has some travel and training, and I can always come to use it. There's a really important training coming up. I'll just come and talk to you guys about it, see what you think. So
if that works for you.
Yep, that works for me.
Thank you.
And that pretty much covers our department budget. So moving forward, we'll be able to get into the state budget here shortly. I have provided a copy for you so you can see just where we sit today. We're currently projecting to be down about 3.4 mils, which is about $450,000 in property taxes for the year. And we'll be able to touch basis on the state budget in the next couple of weeks so that we have time before the budget hearing, which I'm looking at probably August 21st or August 28th, depending on your schedules, to go ahead and have the budget hearing. I'll give the floor up because I know we've got people waiting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. You have it.
So Deb, if you want to unmute yourself. And then let me know which flyer you'd like for me to bring up. And can we hear you?
Hear me?
Okay, there we go. So is there a particular flyer you want to be brought up first? Was I find the name? Deb?
Hello?
Hello, okay. Is there a particular flyer you want us to show first?
I'm not able to hear anyone.
Okay. We are not muted.
Oh,
Great.
I have my microphone on. My
hear
speakers
me?
are up, but I'm not able to hear any of you.
Okay, hang on.
we want to have,
Maybe
we want to have Deb wait.
There's Deb.
have-
Can you see me?
no. Okay, I'm gonna Dustin.
You want to go ahead and go through the CBDG? What do you want to wait?
Let's do that and get that taken care of while I get a hold of Justin and see if he can't
Okay.
help us.
John, Deb, do you guys want
I
to come
can't
up?
hear
What's your-
anything. I'm gonna log off and see if I can get it to work.
I'm gonna send her a quick message.
I mean, we can, either way, we probably might ask a question.
And Barb Barrett can hear us, so I'm not sure why Deb couldn't, so it might be on her side, so.
I used to be on the Kansas Work
Okay.
for a while, the executive committee, so.
Yeah, she logged off, so.
You want to- that's fine. No. I would like to.
I think it's a good opportunity for you.
I just feel like those are.
Well, it's federal funds and the state has a great oversight and they have come into the county before on specific items.
So, yeah, we're working with him through the EDC as well, so
Mhm.
I'd love to be on that board. I don't know if Ron's interested. I don't know what happened.
She's
Hands full.
logging back on and Dustin was on a call, so if you want to go ahead and hear from Deb and John,
Yeah, why don't we?
then that's, we'll circle back.
This will be on the,
We'll be on the CBDG,
Yeah, CDBG.
which you should have a schematic.
Yep. And then there's just a summary. Yeah, I give you all kinds of stuff. I see the schematic on the back side of your page.
I put it in order. We're not going in order.
Yep. You want to do that? Go for it.
Good morning.
Good morning. Are you ready for me to dive in? And,
If I wasn't, I gotta be.
well, there you go. I'll use some cards, Miss Jen,
We are ready.
so she can
Thank you.
pass those around. So John and I are going to tag team a little bit this morning, and he just asked me to quickly kind of overview the program, and while he will focus on the actual project. For those of you that I haven't met, I'm Deb Oldie with the North Central Regional Planning Commission out of Beloit. Happy to be here with you today and excited to have this conversation about this project. And also really quickly wanted to thank you for your ongoing membership support and engagement with the Planning Commission. We're appreciative of that as well and would be happy to come back at some point and talk about that just a little bit more, some of the things that we're doing and also the things we're engaged in within your specific county. So the program that we're talking about today is the Community Development Block Grant dollars that come into the state of Kansas to the Department of Commerce. Those are HUD dollars, and the specific piece of the pie that would be used for this proposed project is what's called their Commercial Rehabilitation Program. And in essence, they have created this pool of money to provide private property owners that have control of a key downtown building to utilize these dollars to do not probably is not correct to say the word improvements, but that is correct. But they're very focused on really stabilizing and preserving and making sure that that building stays viable in the downtown area. And in essence, are also looking for buildings that have somewhat of a relationship to history of the community, and that are in either a vital location or serve a vital function in the community. So again, we're presenting today with the idea that we can check all those boxes with the properties that are being considered for this application. The focus of the community development block grant dollars needs to be on things like code violations, preservation. So oftentimes it's the exterior of the building. If it's brick, there's tuck pointing, or if there's windows where there might be some water infiltration or a roof issue, that type of thing. Lead-based paint or asbestos that needs to be corrected. And again, I'm speaking in generalities, not knowing for sure what might be in place in this particular building, but those are the types of things that they focus these dollars on. So the maximum grant is $300,000, and a portion of that, assuming that you would contract with the Planning Commission for administration, a portion of that would be set aside for paying for that. So those dollars would come out of the grant, leaving a little bit less than that for the construction piece. And then the minimum match is 25%. Probably another key item is most people are used to hearing community development block grant needing to be income eligible, and that is not how projects for this are typically qualified. They are typically qualified on the idea that we're eliminating slum and blight of a particular property that is the one that's being considered for the program. The landowner is responsible, or property owner is responsible for the match, and there is a document establishing the relationship between the applicant, which would be the county, and the property owner to lay out, who is doing what, who has what responsibilities, and how that will be carried out. It gets a little bit interesting with projects where there's maybe more work that needs to be done or will be done than what's considered as part of this project. And so one of the keys is to try to parse that off so that we don't find ourselves with the entire amount of work that's going to be done on that property rolled into this project. Probably the last thing that I would say really in regard to just the program itself, the county as the applicant will be responsible for having a designated, staff person who's able to work with us in terms of processing paperwork. The Planning Commission takes the lead on that, tries to make it pretty painless, pretty seamless, but there does have to be someone, at the applicant level who is available, the point of contact, and who will see that, we get things signed when we need them, and keep the files in order and that sort of thing. Again, with support and help from us, but there has to be somebody at your entity level that does that as well. So anything else that comes to mind before we talk about the project itself?
I want to hear about the project, but commissioners, do you have any questions?
I'm good. That'd probably be answered
Yeah.
as
Okay.
we hear more, so I'm ready.
Right. Well, certainly as they come up, as we wrap this up or whatever, I will be here so we can come back to this if we need to.
And Deb, you've been the executive director for North Central Planning now for how long?
Almost 2 months. But the number of years worked there is way longer than that. I started in 1994, actually, and then
Okay.
she's on.
I mean, I know you've been up there
And
and
just got a promotion.
So, yeah.
okay.
All the things, so.
Thank you, Deb.
Thank you.
Morning.
Thank you, Deb, and thank you, commissioners. This is kind of was a really fun project. Was obviously really involved here too. There's really kind of two phases to it, and I've included some of the documentation just that I have because I have it for the second story. So it is going to be kind of a mixed use. So there's planned to be 6 apartments on the second story, and I've detailed some of the funding mechanism for that. But really what we're looking at for this project specifically, you can kind of see the original plan on the first of the large pages that you've got there for those storefronts. And I laughed a little bit there because we've actually demoed most of the inside now and found out that most of that glass is actually going to have to be bigger than what we're scheduled here. So the costs are substantial, I'm sure you can imagine, for the size of a project. But yeah, for the commercial side, basically, this is kind of what we've anticipated these funds will go to, is basically the storefront replacement, the storefront glass. Just to back up a little bit, as you see that building, this is actually two buildings historically. It's the Henry Fowler Drugstore and Sanitary Barber and Beauty Shop. So there's kind of a really rich history for these buildings going back to 1885. This is a historic property, and so that is part of the funding mechanism, is both state and federal historic tax credits for this project. Just to kind of give you an initial estimate of the cost, we have a really good architect, Veritas Architecture and Design, and they estimated initially this would be about a $1.6 million project. When the initial bids came in, that's what the second story alone ended up being. And we're going to end up having to sprinkler it. We're adding an elevator for mobility, life safety. So it is really going to be, I think, a project that's going to be able to let this building survive in the community for another 150 years. So we're really excited to move forward with it. And I'm happy to answer any questions you've got there. I've included kind of a second story layout and a first story layout there as well.
So John, some of this, okay, so you've got the north and south elevation, but specifically too, you've mentioned historically who was there, but is this the Steinhauser building per se? Does that adequately describe it, or?
Yeah, for recent history, this has been the Steinhauser building.
Okay.
Yeah, it's 109, 111, and 113 are the post office addresses there, but basically those three storefronts between Peterson Pharmacy and what most of us know is Stu Etherington's place.
So Etherington's and Peterson and Royers are not a part of this. They just happen to be on the same block, and they're well-kept structures. And okay.
I think, this really is probably layering about as many incentives as you can into one single project. But I do think I hope anyway, that this will kind of be a springboard to see what we can do around the rest of the downtown area too, in Abilene specifically. I think there's a number of other structures that are of concern. And I think once we build this, I think it'll kind of be a framework to see what we can do with some other important historical buildings in our downtown.
Well, and it's highly visible, so it's certainly important to have the restoration and improvements. So this looks like an exciting project you've taken on.
We do have, at this point, we've been hesitant to really take any LOIs or any commitments for tenants in that space. We have had interest from, I would say, probably half a dozen people of varying degrees of interest. But really my goal with this is to make it foot traffic retail. The one who said I could disclose it as a bike shop, he's got a bike shop in another town. He's kind of on his retirement schedule. He would be willing to open up a second shop in Abilene. So that's, I think, a cool and exciting thing that a town like Abilene could support and benefit from. But we have had interest from just a number of different entities, coffee shops, and that sort of thing as well. So I think it'll be a nice asset for the downtown.
Have you had any prior history with grant programs, or where you have to, pay back, deal with the government and walk the process through?
Yeah, I would say my history has been very, very limited, and that's why I appreciate having Dan on the team. Actually, Julie Roller Weeks brought this to our attention, and she said she administered a very similar program, and she wouldn't wish that on anybody. So we're glad to have.
I know it is a lot of work involved. I believe it's like a monthly report. You have to, before you build, you have to explain it and then build it.
Yeah, it is. But it's also, pieced out and, chunked out, and there's a list of requirements, and you just follow the list and get guidance if you don't know exactly how to approach something. And we have done, other similar projects in the region that have been successful. We have another one right now that just is kicking off in Clay Center. So, very, very workable. We're not in new territory, but yes, CDBG funds of all the ones that we work with maybe one other exception that's federal dollars, is the most
comprehensive and complex in terms of checking all the boxes. So
Janelle, do you have someone in mind that would walk this through if we do end up?
It's going to be on Marcus.
You're gonna tell me Tim. Okay.
Well, on the financial side, so, but yeah, that seems to make the most sense. So I didn't tell him that yet, so good news.
Just for the benefit of Marcus and Deb, we do have a really professional accounting team. There is, obviously, there's a lot we have to keep track of between not just upstairs and downstairs, but
Right.
from the federal side, this is two buildings. So we're looking at east and west as well as top and bottom.
I understand.
So we understand the need for really accurate records.
Plus, we'll have to set up separate funds, and it'll run through our accounts payable system and our cash receiving system and that. So Marcus is the logical choice with that. So.
As far as other funds administration, we do have the KHITC that I'm administering. That's a fairly simple one. And just on a personal level, I've done a handful of like farm grants, NRCS type of things that I'm familiar with paperwork.
Well, you got a good partner in it. So North Central Regional is a great partner. I mean, I'll give my opinion. I think it's a great idea. Anything to improve our community and bring value back to it, I think is a win, regardless of what city it happens to be in the county. But being in the biggest city, I find it even more crucial. I'd love to see that downtown develop. I don't feel like, you're right, we don't have enough retail space down there. You know, you got a few restaurants, but I'd love to see it continue to grow. So my opinion is I would be in favor of this, but
Well, each business helps another as far as the traffic. And then one of the areas we've identified important for growth is some housing. And although this isn't a traditional house as you think of it, you still would, you know, there's opportunity up there. You said what, 6 units potentially? So
if Golden Belt is any example, you know, the 12 or 16 apartments out there, I think are on a wait list now. So I don't think you're going to have a problem getting people to rent the apartment.
Just for another data point, my understanding is that the project on 21st Street also has a wait list, and it's
I've heard that too.
considering a second phase on it. So I think it's all positive.
Definitely points to a need for housing. So this kind of satisfies that and gives us some, I mean, to me, it's a big win if we can get it up.
it's the type of housing some people look for too. Exactly. I mean, there's something for everyone.
Yeah,
There's in our county.
if you look at that floor plan, I think on the second page on the bottom left, you'll see that little box. That's actually the elevator. That's about probably a $250,000 expense just in that, 40 square feet or whatever it is. But
Crazy, isn't it?
yeah, but we do feel that's absolutely, for,
Well, yeah, then you can get wheelchair, yeah. And
Whether
it's accessible.
initially I was thinking elderly, and then my buddy who's 40 something busted its knee and had to roll around in a scooter for 6 weeks. And it really, I think, benefits people in all phases, whether it's pushing strollers or pushing.
Have to get upstairs in a scooter. Huh?
A good asset.
Okay.
I got you. Yeah, I want to say just a couple things here. Any organization that can have a guy like Doug McKinney work for him, retire from him, give him my due respect. The guy can remember everything and anything like I've never seen before. So projects are really great projects.
One is practice from animals.
It's really that. Thank you, guys. We do have this on the agenda today, so we will vote on this today.
do you want us to stay until?
Well, that's up to you guys. If you want, we'll have a signed. I don't know if we'll sign anything.
No, I think it's just a
I don't
motion
see
to-
any obstacles, but
Yeah.
but it's up to you whether you want to say it.
I think this is
Hooray.
formality that you are comfortable with sponsoring the application. And that's it, because there'll be further meetings down the road that you'll have formal action to take on resolutions and the agreement and things like that, so.
So I will probably not today just because of another obligation that I have, but
No.
text me, call me.
Almost like you're busy, Deb. A little bit.
How many counties do you have?
Pardon me?
How many counties do you have?
12 as the core membership area, as dues paying members, 83 cities within those 12 counties. But 2 of the programs that we manage on behalf of the state have a bigger footprint. So we're fiscal agents for, actually there's more than fiscal agents for the Homeland Security dollars that come into the state of Kansas. And we have all the counties in Kansas except for 2. They're in the Kansas City metro area. And then the weatherization program, we have 41 counties that we provide that service to. And then we have a few housing initiatives that are done in cooperation with the Innovation Center / Dane Hansen. So work in their 26 counties with that as well. So.
Well, we've utilized North Central Kansas planning quite often over the decades and with the city and county and
We appreciate that.
cities. And I guess we need to do more. There's lots of opportunity out there.
For sure.
That's it. Thank you, guys. Unless you got any more questions, commissioners, I'm sorry. Thank you.
So it looks like Deb is asking about rescheduling for next week.
Okay.
And I've texted her to find out if that would still work. So we'll just take it off the agenda for today and reschedule.
It's Plain County.
She is, yes, yeah.
So
But she's been sick
we
too.
could invite her over.
We can.
We're in person here next.
We can.
I mean, if it works for her, it'd be great.
She had planned on being here in person, but she got sick.
Back when I was on the workforce board for the state, she was involved with it back then also.
Then we can go back and hit a couple of the other things on budget or Jennifer.
Yes.
Yeah,
Jennifer has a.
she's so excited about this. I can't tell you how much.
Red cheeks. Jennifer Gason, County Clerk. Commissioners, you have in your folders the estimate, these DS200s, and then my little speech. Okay, so the DS200s, we currently do have them already for Chapman, Harrington, and Outlook. As we strive to continually enhance the integrity and efficiency of our electoral processes, I am proposing the purchase of 2 additional DS200 machines for our election office. The current need for these machines arises from our commitment to ensuring that every vote is counted accurately and efficiently, particularly in 2 locations, Solomon and Talmadge. These 2 locations collectively host a number of registered voters. Currently at Solomon, it compromises of 1,386 registered voters, while Talmadge accounts for 992. Also with the Talmadge location has the complexity of multiple ballot stops, so it makes it difficult to count down. Implementing the DS200 machines will streamline the voting process in these areas. The machines are invaluable for their speed and efficiency. The DS200s can swiftly tabulate votes, eliminating the manual counting process, which is time intensive. Accuracy and security. Votes are securely counted as they are entered, and the machine provides immediate feedback to our voters in case improperly marked or overvoted ballots. It gives them a chance to either submit it, go ahead as it is if it's overvoted, or they can correct and fill out a whole new ballot. When they don't have the 200s at the location, they would not be aware of that they have overvoted a race. It would then just come here and our counting board would decide what their intention was. Okay. Enhanced voter experience. Voters receive on-the-spot notifications regarding any issues with their ballots, allowing immediate correction if necessary, thus safeguarding voter intent. This technology minimizes the possibility of human error prevalent in manual counts and ensures the ballot counting is both seamless and fortified against discrepancies. Additionally, the DS200's reporting feature simplifies the closing procedure for our workers, allowing them to generate reports and securely seal ballot boxes for delivery to our office. The investment for 2 DS200 machines is $12,950 with an annual post-warranty maintenance fees and amounting to $640. This is a prudent investment towards maintaining a robust and trustworthy electoral system that serves our constituents. Your support in this purchase would be instrumental in ensuring our elections remain accessible, accurate, and fair. And I thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. What fund do we expense this out of if we end up buying this equipment?
So this would come from capital or the equipment reserve. We have been setting aside funding in the equipment reserve for election equipment over the last few years. We do have $75,000 that we anticipated for 2025 in the fund. We currently have about $2,085,000 left in that fund. If you take out about the 170 that we talked about last week for the servers, which on a good note, I was just alerted before this that the bid for the servers that we discussed last week actually came in about $14,000 less. So if that helps, that's also the same fund as well. So that would be where we'd be considering this purchase from.
And then, so the original pads, that's what you guys were accounting for?
Totally separate.
Okay.
The polling pads are.
I'm putting these together.
Yep.
Do you have any questions, commissioners?
That's good.
So if you want to move forward with this would be an item to add to the agenda.
Okay, and then we'll take the other off.
If the Kansas works off.
Okay.
Is there any questions from them?
It's pretty straightforward. I mean, you gave us a really dang good document here to know why you want it. And so, but I think I'm comfortable adding this to the agenda. You guys?
Sorry.
No. Okay.
Did you have any questions on the poll pads?
I caught enough of that meeting to understand it. You might talk with the other commissioners about that just briefly. I don't know if you want to. Well, are you going to, well, we can also do it when we
A
vote.
regular meeting too. Yeah.
We could do it in the regular meeting, fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're going to wait.
I'll read that because that's pretty long with the DS 200.
I think it's the high level of why you're wanting to move there. And you kind of did that on right here.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
That's
that
what I'm
was,
gonna read.
perfect.
Okay, because it gives it overall everything.
Anybody in the crowd that has anything? I'd say we'll take
There's
a,
a former commissioner here, county commissioner.
how are you? I don't believe I've met you before. Sheila Big, oh. Well, I've seen a lot of, I'm that guy that goes through all the resolutions, so I've seen your name. Yep.
Get in here.
And she was our county nurse also.
Oh, really?
There you go. See, everything.
Absolutely. Mhm.
How are we doing?
Great.
Okay.
You're going to ask her online?
Peer-to-peer review. Well, if we don't have anything else for study, I'd say we go ahead and take a 19-minute till meeting.
Okay.
Thank you.
Some days are better than
You probably recall how it is, so when you walk in, like, agenda item.
No.
Doesn't show up. It's budget time. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. And no, I'm not gonna run again.
What's the matter?
Not here, Kenny. Anything exciting?
No, not really. Harvest is in swing.
They get their cut down pretty good.
I think so. I mean, it's pretty wet.
Yeah.
So naturally we're,
A lot of ours cut.
yeah, I don't,
Down south here.
to be honest, I haven't been paying attention as much as I should. I'm kind of lost in the forest right now.
Well, yeah,
But I think I'm getting to a point where I can see it.
good deal.
Lost in the trees, what I should say.
Yeah.
No, see how it goes. I don't know where the report is. I haven't got a Kansas Sweep report for a while, but I don't know how it's looking.
Our area is running about 50 bushel. It's running a pretty fair yields, not record breaking.
It's 50 export now.
Yeah, it's nick and tuck. It depends how much their costs are. Those guys with bigger equipment can get by a little bit. Well, do a little better than the guys with little. Don't use much fuel and all expense going down the fields and stuff. Fertilizer and all, but like you know in business, all those fixed expenses just kill you. It's those little things, you know. I told our children one time when they're growing up, I could give you a brand new car, fully paid for, and you'd go broke in a few months because you couldn't afford to pay for the costs.
I got a lot of friends that take a loan for the taxes.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
No.
Any accountant will tell you never do that.
No. It's but it's
But I
expensive.
get it, you gotta have a car too, so I mean, you gotta.
Well, yeah, and if you do, I told my youngest daughter she was ready for a car one time. I said, really? Yeah. I said, what's she going? I said, the junkyard for junkyard. What do you mean? I said, well, there's some good cars there. We're not going there. I said, yeah, we are.
In the old county, or a KDOT truck. And we painted blue. I mean, it was basic gift. And
That's all a guy needs.
proud of that, though.
Mine was like, what you're talking about too.
But inside the door, they didn't paint inside the door. So it was yellow.
Different colors.
You can still see the yellow on it.
Well, mine was growing up. I didn't have any money at all. Worked for a farmer out our way, and he had a son, just one son. You know, his son and I worked together. But the father who owned the farm said, you got to try and use it. Use it's okay. Well, the son came to him one day, he said, you want that truck? Well, yeah, I'd like to have it. He said, you cut all these trees and say, hedge trees, and it's yours. Meanwhile, I'm doing all kinds of other stuff for the father and all that stuff. And I'm thinking, ooh, now I'll go out there in the evening, cut those trees, and blood all over the place. You know how it is with hedge trees and stuff.
Yeah.
I did that for about 2 weeks, and I thought, you know what? There ain't no truck in this world with that damn thing. So I went to the son. I said, hey, look, I'm going to get that truck back. He said, what? I said, there's no word. I'm going to do it for, look at me. He said, oh man, go on, keep cutting. I said, no. So I went to his father, told his father I'm going to cut back. Well, I said, what are you going to cut for? I said, because your son had to cut all those trees up for you bastard. He said, that truck's yours. I gave it to you. He says, no, you don't work. You work for me. That truck's yours. The son's scamming me.
He's gonna get out of work.
He got it. Yeah, he tried to. He ended up doing it. It was bad. So
He got
anyway,
the hedgerow right, folks.
well, these were individuals though in the pasture.
That's not too bad.
Did not,
But it still sucks.
they still branch out.
Yeah. Well, they're freaking hard. The chain starts to go.
Yeah, 4 or 5
Time you
trees.
get halfway through the day and then you're sharpening in.
And guys that the Europeans have brought those seed over to make those hedgerows for the fence lines. I got it, but you know, if it helps with sun erosion. But you go back and recoup and clean that stuff up. Dude, I do it the other now. Nobody.
Nobody's gonna hate them. I hate them. So that kind of dude is the pheasant quail I hunted. They run in there. They're like, I ain't going.
Yeah, right in there. Yep, they're right in that damn stuff.
If you didn't have a dog, you were fine.
You know, they make the nicest bows. You want to make them, if you know, that hedge tree, those guys know how to make them, and they're beautiful, man. That yellowy color, you know. I can't make one, but I've seen guys do it.
It's good. It's good hot burning firewood too.
Yeah.
For the furnace.
So anyway,
Yeah, I got. I'm one of them guys. I don't ever use my fireplace, so I got
well,
15 cords of wood. I don't know why.
that year we had $5 propane costs though.
Well,
Do you remember that?
Power went out too.
Oh yeah.
I'll kick the fireplace back on.
Oh yeah.
Pilot won't light.
Oh yeah.
Now, my furnace has gotten better since then, so it shouldn't go out. But
Well, those thermocouplers go up on those furnaces.
they do, and that's exactly what I replaced.
Yeah. No reason I say that. I've been experienced with that too.
Man, I've been fighting that.
Light it and go out and buy a little $7 thermocoupler.
I know, I should say what I was gonna say.
Well,
Call
no.
somebody and.
Yeah.
Get a new one.
Oh yeah. Hot water heaters, something in this part of the country we go through a lot.
Yeah,
I mean, even though we have city water from Harrington, hot water heater don't last very long at all.
well, and where I'm at, saying the AC unit, being on close to the ground, rubbed on a condenser, starts to leak.
Yep,
So I just built a little box.
there you go.
About 3 foot.
That'll work.
Should solve it.
Yeah, those costs add up.
They do.
Hey, you know what? I did misspeak just a tiny bit,
Oh, did I?
so I need to correct myself or I'll think about it all day.
Okay, what is it?
The accounting board only decides if it's not marked correctly, like X's and check marks. They don't decide if you overvote. It's just that whole race is not.
Okay.
I had in my mind, just, I
Well, I
think just
thought
the
so,
nervousness that when I was up there. So,
Well, because didn't we do that like maybe the first or so meeting I was here? We go through some ballots.
yeah.
And we had to
provisionals.
verify.
And those poll pads should help with that too, eliminating that unnecessary amount. We weren't here last primary, but we had like 300 provisionals. They were here for half a day counting
Yeah.
unnecessarily.
It was all day.
Was it all day?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, they still have the option. Is this just when they register when they walk in? So we're so longer a book? Is that what the poll pads will do? Or they actually kind of use the poll pad to? How does that work, I guess?
Say what again?
The poll pad is when you walk in the building, give them your ID.
Yeah.
That's what it's for, right?
Yeah, you're just signing in for voter credit.
Okay.
You won't actually replace that with your voter registration cards.
Okay,
They still need to do those.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
With John.
Yes. I told them I misspoke a little bit.
Oh, you did? How'd you do that?
Just being nervous, but I got myself in it. Anyways, I corrected myself and said they do not decide if you overvote on a vote, on a race. Only thing they decide is if they do check marks or X's and the ballot can't be read, then they decide what your intention is.
Okay, so, but you're still limiting that.
They get the option to correct themselves. That's what's the best thing about this. That is, you know, you need to correct your ballot so they can be counted correctly.
Okay.
You know, that's what. Otherwise, wouldn't have that.
Will this help with our, guess what we had happen last year?
Large audit.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, you're probably still gonna have an audit, but it's just gonna be the length of time, you know.
It'll be a lot quicker because you have, everything's already counted down. There's no room for error. Like when poll workers are going to have to count down all the ballots and sort them all and stuff. I don't really care for that. I don't really want them handling ballots. I think all necessary. I'd like them to just be counted and given.
They need to seal down.
So there's no room for error, you know?
Mhm.
I don't want the counted ballots handled like that.
Mhm.
I'd like for it to just be zipped up and given to us. And it's in a pair. They come in pairs. We'll have 2 people in the deliver stuff to us already. So
It makes sense.
Well, I guess the new state senator is sworn in by now.
Yeah.
Should be. I think 30 was.
Is that the actual swearing ceremony? I thought they would do that in the house.
I think as long as they have someone that can administer the oath, I think they can do it about anywhere.
Okay.
So I think,
I saw the,
so I kind of assumed that was the actual swearing from what I
he
read.
probably doesn't want that because the 50th did a special too, but he was in the Capitol. I saw this Dan sworn him in
Mhm. Yeah, a lot of times, you know,
for the picture. I'm guessing he
people
wouldn't
will
be up there.
go
Yeah.
down to the state capitol and.
I would not be wrong.
Of course.
Well, I mean, that's.
Do it at my
Now,
house.
who would swear him in actually? Is it Scott Schwab?
That's a really, I thought it was the speaker, but I don't know.
I don't know.
It'd have to be Masterson because it's on the Senate side now.
Right.
Because he told me he was having brunch with him today. So he must be able to do that.
I guess I didn't know whose responsibility that
I mean,
was.
I don't know if a
It
judge
probably
can
would
do
be.
it or, I mean, like for us, the clerk can do
The
it.
clerk, yeah.
Usually you do it at a meeting, but I think it can be done.
But not anybody can swear people in or administer an oath.
Well, but you can.
I can, yeah.
So we should have
For
asked to
certain
go and do it.
things, though.
Judges can do it too.
Well, we already missed it.
True.
It's at 10.
So maybe the judge, yeah, I don't know.
I don't know either.
Well, that was up to him to do it and figure the proper way to do it, so. I'm sure there's more than one way, but.
I feel like with Dan, because I went up there when Barker first got elected, I feel like there was a judge there and it was the speaker too.
Well,
But
Which would make sense, right?
years ago, I don't remember.
Were they having the meeting to appoint the new one?
Eisenhower
Oh, okay.
Well,
So
no,
three
the,
counties.
Museum, right?
well, for the,
So that's the ceremony, I guess.
so the ceremony is at the Eisenhower, but now, once he's sworn in, the Republican chair will call a meeting. So where did they have one? Over there, it was in
Yeah, but
Saline
Celine's
County.
not involved with
No,
this.
it'll be here.
So this would be here.
Dickens
It's gonna
Marion
be
and
at
McPherson.
Sands
This would be precinct committee people, but
Sand Springs venue.
Oh, is that where it's at?
And they'll bring in
7
McPherson
people.
and
Sorry.
Marion counties and participate all up here because we're the largest county.
You were the
Yeah,
largest
no.
county, so the
Precinct committee
majority
people.
is the location.
Gotcha.
There's 6 districts from Marion, 2 districts from McPherson, is it McPherson? Yeah. And I think like 2 from Clay, right?
I don't think he's got.
That's not Clay.
It's not Clay anymore?
Dickinson, Marion, and McPherson.
Yes. So
Is it-
Marion, I think, was 2, and I think,
Okay.
no, sorry, Marion was 6.
It used to have Clay, but not no more.
And
Clay's
McPherson, I
64.
think, is 2.
Because it's only just a little chunk of McPherson.
Yeah,
I
just-
think, yeah,
I think it's 2 towns.
just like that. Yeah,
Maybe even 1.
yeah.
Clay used to be 70th. though.
I'm on the rules
Like
committee.
64.
Yeah. And are you anticipating going over with us for the tour of the juvenile detention center?
no.
Okay, okay. And Ron, did you want to ride with us or are you going to meet us?
I'm gonna go do some other stuff.
Okay, okay.
Thank you, though. Have the money instead.
I wouldn't ask that, not a budget time. I wouldn't ask it anyway.
As I say, it's late.
You know, I haven't turned in
Sure.
my receipt.
You sure invited. Cal.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
It's coming at all. We'd love walking him.
You think you turned?
Yeah, I'll just pay for it. That's-
You're doing
no,
what?
told me not to do it, but I'm doing it.
What am I doing?
I paid for my hotel at KC and I paid for,
I told you to say.
I know, I'll just eat it. It's okay.
If you go this year, we'll
Budget cut.
get them booked and taken care of.
Good job, Kenny.
Do my part.
Good job.
Okay.
I had to do that the other day too.
I'll be real honest. I lost the receipt. I'm like, yeah, that's what it is.
Are you gonna be okay?
We're watching Anger Management.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Trying to calm myself.
What are you mad about?
Hmm?
What are you mad about?
Not mad, I'm just saying the way he calms himself. Wasabi. Pretty hard to make me mad.
What?
It's pretty hard to make me mad.
I don't know.
Pretty
She
easy.
gave me a look one time and I thought, man, better pay attention here.
Glad I have that effect.
Yeah.
That's all. Look.
Well, the numbers are trying to go down with people.
So is this kind of seem like a normal day when you go to work now and everything's, I mean, because you're new to a certain point. I mean, are there things coming up? Are there
Still
things coming?
problems everywhere. Oh, like for example, our large central county machine is down right now.
Did you get any kind of resolution on it yet?
They don't know what's wrong with it. See, that's things that can happen on election day. I don't really care for that.
So now, if it happens now, not good, but at least not a.
We got a little time to prepare right now to find a solution if we can't get fixed in time, because we have testing coming up that needs to be done on July 7th.
When's the primary for the city?
August 5th.
So
The
we'll
early
do a
voting.
primary in the 5th and then we'll do another one, right? Because it's a runoff, isn't it? Or if someone
You'll
gets
narrow it down to
51 right away, they win.
6 and then it goes on in November.
If someone got 51% in the primary, doesn't that automatically?
Well, all primary is doing is narrowing down the candidates for general.
Okay.
So 10-6.
So they'll know,
6
they'll kind of know how they rank, how much work they have to do, or it's a good indicator, other than all the ones that are eliminated.
Yeah.
Their votes are going to have to go somewhere.
Mhm.
So
And what if somebody wants to do a write-in campaign then?
You
from-
still have write-in lines for general.
Okay. But do they have to
but years
notify?
ago, we had,
Are they gonna notify us for write-ins?
years ago,
Or?
we had
On the Alvin primary, if they wanted to do a write-in after that?
8 to do it.
For Abilene.
Yeah, for Abilene, if, so say out of the 10, it's narrowed down to 6, but one of those 4 left wanted to do a write-in, what would they have to do?
They would have to fill out the paper.
Parties, McDonald's or something.
Write-in.
That's it.
With someone.
And if they're going first.
Something else to do.
Okay.
Well, to run for city commission.
I'm pretty sure first class cities
So the
would-
person had no idea what they're doing, and they go,
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Right.
So I need to make sure.
and so then I have a
Otherwise,
primary.
yes, they would. But
And then, I mean, they
I think it just.
then
goes
give
under
them like
this
20
first class
votes or
cities.
something. I said, no,
Okay,
Yeah, but they don't.
they
have the
wanted to
list.
back
They
out.
just
It's like,
file
no, it's too late.
it counted,
okay.
which that tells us that they are doing it.
Just curious, I don't know if that'll happen, but you know,
Yeah, but I mean, most. I don't know who would run if they lost in primary, but.
So the city had candidates form then?
Yeah, we are. EDC will host that on,
Because that was.
I don't have a date.
but it's coming up probably
Yes,
pretty soon.
I need to know that.
After the primary though, or before?
Before.
11 people speak,
10.
or
Yeah.
10? Okay.
The, yeah, okay. Bring this meeting to order. If we'd all stand for the flag salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. A little bit fuller agenda today. We have 4 considerations. First being to consider chief elected officers agreement with Kansas Workforce One. Second being the rural rental LLC CBGG application sponsorship project on Northwest 3rd Street in Abilene. Then consider purchase of election poll books. Then we're also going to add one to consider purchase of the DS200 tabulation machines for elections. And we're not going to do that. And then we're also going to have an executive session for non-elected personnel today. Do I have a, sorry.
You want to remove the chief elected officials agreement and reschedule her for next week?
It's up to you. I mean, the way I read it is more of a formality. I mean, we're going to be involved with that anyway. I'd still, it's a,
Well,
I'd
it
ask the
needs-
question to the commissioners here.
I think just go ahead and put
Remove
it on
that.
next week,
Okay.
remove it for now.
Okay,
We'll strike
Put it
that.
on the agenda next week.
Let me reverberate that. We're going to strike the consider chief elected officials, do the rural rental LLC CDBG, consider purchase of election poll books, consider purchase of DS200 tabulation machines, and an executive session. That being said, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We don't need it. I'm sorry. Okay, moving on. I don't know why I did that. Moving on to consent agenda. You have the minutes provided for you in the June 19th meeting. Expenditures of $529,740.07. Hand checks of $2,118.35. ST security for $4,588.50. Health insurance of $178.85 and abated tax of $94.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Got to do it again. Moving on to commissioner comments, committee reports. Why don't we start on the far end with Rob?
Looks like the wheat cutting is going pretty well. It brings us slowing it down just a little bit, but there's been some decent yields, and we wish our producers out there good the best and best of luck and be safe.
Thank you. Lynn?
This past week, they had a military affairs. Usually it's a breakfast, but this was a luncheon. They also had people from the Manhattan group there, as well as Junction City, Fort Riley. Mac Teasley, he and I rode over there together. And General Ham was the speaker. He's a 4-star general, used to be a CG. He's moved back to the Kansas City area, and he had been in the Pentagon and headed up forces in Europe. But anyway, he just spoke about the importance of the military, what they do, how they're there to meet the challenge wherever things occur in the world. We currently have troops that are in Europe from Fort Riley, and then also they're getting ready for what will be a year-long deployment. So that's going to impact the number of people you see over there. And then General Roan and his wife Michelle were there and spoke also. He's the commanding general currently, but it's really kind of the appreciation for what our soldiers do over there, but also to kind of be informed, because they certainly have a great economic impact. And some of the retirees, there's so many that are in Dickinson County. There's so many that decide to retire and stay in this area. And so anyway, I enjoyed going over there, but it's very informative too. That's all I have.
Thank you, Lynn. I didn't have much formal appearances this week, but the EDC has decided to extend the talent search for our new replacement director. I believe we're changing that title to president. So I would say we're extending the search for the new replacement president for the EDC. I think that's a great idea. Make sure we're doing our due diligence and making sure we're scouting for good talent. The other one, actually, I'll do that in minutes later. That's all I have today, commissioners. Let's move on to public comments. No, County Administrator Janelle Dockendorf, would you read the rules?
For the Open Meetings Act, KSA 75-4317 and 75-4318A, as the elected board, the county commission is not allowed to meet or make any decisions without posting the meeting. They are only allowed to act on items on the agenda which they set. During their regular meeting, the county commission may allow for public comments on items not listed on the approved agenda. It is at the discretion of the county commission if they allow comments on agenda items. If you wish to provide comments, please come forward to the podium and state your name and address. If you are online, raise your hand and we will unmute you. Please state your name and address. Each person may speak for 3 minutes. The allotted time will start after the speaker has given his or her name and address. Public comments shall be addressed to the county commission only and not to the speaker or the audience. Only the county commission will be permitted to ask the speaker questions. The public comment period is not a back and forth discussion with the county commission. You should make your views and input known to them, but it is not a time to ask them questions. You should not expect them to respond to your comments. Comments may express support or agreement with the previous speakers, but in the interest of time, please do not repeat the same information. You may state something to the effect of your name and address and you agree with the previous speaker. It is important to maintain a respectful, non-threatening atmosphere for anyone who would like to speak. Please do not engage in such actions as cheering, booing, clapping, insults, threats, etc.
Thank you. Not seeing any comments.
Nobody has their hand raised.
Okay, go ahead and move on. Let's do reports from county officers. County Administrator Janelle Dock.
Commissioners, Schilling is planning on, weather permitting again, starting the overlay project on 1400 Avenue at Eden Road on Monday, June 30th. That's been a delay from what we were initially told. Weather again is still a factor of that. It will be flagged and it'll be 1-lane traffic. The emergency manager held an advanced weather spotter training on June 23rd, and that was at the Eisenhower Auditorium for the region. It was very well received, and Chancey spoke to you about that during the study session. So I think it was very beneficial, and especially for our first responders here. Public Works Department continues paving. They're on Old 40, again, weather permitting. It's been kind of hectic with that, but they also did some shoulder work that I forgot to put on my sheet on Jeep Road North. So they were keeping busy with that. Just as a reminder, the sale of fireworks, they'll be permitted from June 27th and through July 4th from licensed vendors. And they will be permitted this year on July 5th, since it is on a Saturday. The discharge of fireworks, July 1st to July 5th of this year. And county permits are not needed to discharge. You still need a county permit if you are a licensed vendor. And then if you are inside the city limits, just as a reminder to please check with your city for their rules and regulations on discharge and sales.
Absolutely. Thank you. I will also hear from County Councilor Doug Thompson. Heard you got some good news today.
Okay. I have some. This is in regards to the tax foreclosure. And I can give you some dates and what we're working for with this one. We have an order for the sale of real estate on the tax sale for those who have not paid the past due taxes. And The order for sale begins on June 25th. Now, that doesn't mean that that's when they're being sold. That's just one of the procedures we go through. And then notice of the sale will be published in the local newspaper, and that will be on 3 times, July 1st, 8th, and the 15th. And then the execution will be by the sheriff's office. And then there's the certificate of mailing and notice of sale on July 3. And so that will be part of the publications that will be taking place. The sheriff's sale is scheduled for August 14th at 10 a.m. And then after the sheriff's sale, then we will, of course, prepare sheriff's return of execution documents and move forward from there. So that one's moving forward. As soon as we can get that one done, why then I would like to be able to get another one done yet this year. And so that's where we stand with it right now. It moves terribly slow, but that's, there's reasons for that. It's not like the cases we do, well, here's a foreclosure and we're proceeding with the foreclosure and it gets taken care of very quickly. This is because it's a tax sale and through government. And so that's why it takes some time to be able to do it, but we're moving.
I'm glad we got a date. Thank you.
Thank you. That's all I have.
All right, we'll go ahead and move on to notices and communications. I have one notice today. The Dickinson County Republican Party is having a special election to appoint a replacement for Scott Hill in the 70th district. That'll include Dickinson County's Republican Party, part of Marion County, and part of McPherson County. That convention will be held on Monday, July 14th at 7 p.m. at the Sand Springs venue at 2256 Deer Road. If you would like to participate, if you're not a committeeman or woman, you don't get to vote, but you can be there. You can definitely be observe it. Okay, I don't think we have any introduction or consideration resolutions, no unfinished business. Moving on to other business. We are going to consider the vote on Rural Rental LLC CDBG application that we heard from in study session today. Do you guys want to have any discussion over that?
I think just for the sake of the public, if they didn't listen earlier, either Janelle or the applicant could just give a brief elevator speech type overview so people know what property it is and some of the plans. So sounds exciting.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity to be here and for considering the application. So this is for, it's technically 2 buildings. It's probably most well known to people around town here locally as the Steinhauser building. It's 3 storefronts that face both 2nd Street and 3rd Street. This is a mixed use project. There's going to be 2nd story residential and 1st story commercial. So this particular grant application is only for the commercial part of it with the goal of kind of enhancing and protecting this historic asset for Abilene for the years to come. And we're really excited to be moving forward with this and appreciate your consideration.
And in this, while you're doing this project, it sounded like you're going to open up some apartments possibly. Could you maybe touch on that?
Yes, so the whole 2nd story will be converted to residential. It will be 6 apartments, and we are planning to install an elevator so they should be accessible basically to anyone of any age life cycle.
Absolutely.
So our sponsorship for this, Janelle, it's specific for us, and what's going to be involved with that, because we need to have a contact person.
So we need to have a contact person. Our responsibility would be the fiscal side of it, on the accounts payable and the cash receiving side, the in and out. So Marcus will be managing that. He's working with John and with the Regional Planning Commission, Deb Oldie, or Riley, probably, or no, Keegan.
I think both.
Both of them, they're at Regional Planning Commission. So, and the county will be the sponsor for that. The funds will run through us and should be pretty smooth going. We've had CDBG grants in the county before, and Regional Planning Commission, as John had noted before, that they have done an excellent job, and you had said that as well. So, no concerns there about that.
So it's a HUD project per se, but it's CDBG. And all the documents and work is provided to us for review.
Correct.
And also there's a bank involved, and so they have all the documentation that would follow that.
Right. They'll sign off on everything before it's submitted. The Regional Planning Commission will also review it. We'll review it, submit it to Commerce, and then it'll come back through. So there'll be several sets of eyes on this as well. So
For the public, this is a part of a continued effort of both the county and the city and really the government in general of this county to try to spur economic development. So this is directly related to that idea. And
Yeah, so the goal with this is we've actually designed it to be somewhat flexible. This is a unique building that it kind of has two fronts. Originally, the Second Street was the main side. I don't, that much hard for us to believe, but when the railroad was a big thing or the only thing, and Second Street was the main face of this building. So we've designed this space to be flexible so that it could potentially house as many as 6, so that those could be split north and south through kind of those individual building spaces.
6 potential retail spaces going to be added.
Actually, there will only be 5 because one of those will be used for the elevator. One of those south.
Okay, that's true.
Will be elevator shaft, but as many as 5, we designed it to be flexible. It could be as few as 3, kind of depending on their space needs.
And just to add a little bit more, you know, this building we're considering to be blighted. I'm not going to go through all the different things that can be in the building. Asbestos is one of them. It's also going to update it for the fire safety mechanisms in the building. I mean, it's huge, and you need the new fire mechanisms to have any sort of dwelling in a 2nd-story building. So I can't say it more. I'm pretty excited about this project.
Well, I appreciate you investing in the community and the county, and I mean, the potential for additional revenue and opportunities for business. Like you said, that's interwoven with economic development. And
Yeah, well, I appreciate you saying that. It certainly is an investment, and I can just tell you quite honestly, it wouldn't happen without programs like KHITC, Historic Preservation, and the CDBG that you're considering today. It's just not financially feasible without those programs helping out.
Okay.
I think at this point, you just need a motion approving for the sponsorship.
I would go ahead and make the motion that we approve this CDBG application sponsorship for this project. And as the applicant mentioned, it's what's known as the Steinhauser building, but we have the 109, 111, 113 Northwest 3rd Abilene.
I'll second that motion. Do you have any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Congratulations. Thank you, John.
Go to work.
Yeah. Okay, moving on to consider purchase for election poll books. I think you're probably going to have to get back up and talk to us a little bit. And really what I'd like you to run through. Oh, it is? Well, you can sit there.
She likes the podium.
Yeah.
You better say, oh.
Get behind. I think maybe just, yeah, go ahead and talk through this, would you?
All right, gentlemen, I would like to acquire electronic poll pads for our election office. I gave you a printout of what I'm about to read, and then you have the quotes in there for them. In light of the evolving needs of our electoral processes, these devices present a significant opportunity to enhance the efficiency and accuracy of voter check-ins and elections management overall. The total cost of these poll pads is $50,539.80, spread over a manageable 3-year payment plan. Payments are structured as $20,736.60 in the first year, followed by $14,646.60 in the subsequent 2 years. Importantly, this plan incurs no interest charges, facilitating straightforward budget planning for me. These poll pads streamline voter check-ins. They improve speed and accuracy. The average check-in time is 45 seconds per voter, eliminating the need for manual name searching, and contributes significantly to reducing the occurrence of errors such as signing on incorrect lines, and will ensure smoother operations. I can reduce the staff costs by adopting electronic poll pads, dramatically reduce the staffing needs. For example, in Abilene, the reduction from 22 to approximately 10 workers can yield a savings around $19.88 per election. Extending this across all my polling locations results in potential annual savings ranging from $3,475 to $10,425. That just depends on how many elections I hold for the year. Could be 1 to 3. The manual data entry for voter credit is time intensive for my staff and subject to human error. Poll pads facilitate direct data uploads to our voter roll system, ensuring precise and timely credit allocation. This efficiency allows us to redirect resources to other pressing election tasks. Although the expected lifespan of these devices is 3 to 5 years, the constant support updates and leasing option ensure continuity without additional replacement costs. We also have built-in training days to guarantee seamless adaptations. The vast majority of Kansas counties, 85%, are already benefiting from electronic poll pads, underscoring their effectiveness and reliability. Moreover, we are planning on performing a trial during our next election to further evaluate their impact before full deployment. I am confident that investing in electronic poll pads will yield substantial improvements in our election administration. Your support in advancing the purchase of these devices will demonstrate commitment to efficient, modern, and secure electoral processes. And I thank you for your consideration of this pivotal enhancement of our election operation.
Thank you.
Any questions for me?
Yeah, why don't you just for a second. Commissioners, do you have any questions?
Covered it well.
I was in the presentation. It was very efficient.